Hey guys, today I want to talk about the entire process of how I picked my study abroad program and just give you guys any tips for those of you who are in college or thinking about studying abroad in the future. So, I've wanted to study abroad forever. You know, I never traveled much as a child, so it was a major dream of mine. And once I started to take French classes in high school, I obviously wanted to go to France to actually be able to speak the language with the locals and actually get a good grip on the language. So that's what I'm doing, and it's amazing that I can finally do something that has been one of my goals for such a long time. So for me, the question of where do I want to study abroad was never a question. I always wanted to go to France. I think it also would have been really cool to go to any other Francophone countries. A lot of countries in Africa or different regions speak French. French is a major language of the world, so I could have gone to a lot of different places, but I did want to go to France first. And you know, in the future, I would love to continue traveling. So, last year was my freshman year of college, and most people tend to study abroad usually around their junior year, but I wanted to look into programs and see what my options were early because my biggest concern was cost. So for my school, I had to go to the study abroad website and request a meeting. Basically what happened is I show up and I talked to a student who had already returned from studying abroad, and you just kind of discuss their experience and they ask you if you are interested in any countries or places in particular, blah blah blah, and they try to help you kind of get a focus on what kind of program you want. Also, of course, your major, whatever you're studying, is relevant to where you're gonna be able to go. I'm a film major, so I did look into some programs that have film options, and a lot of universities do, but also because French, the language component, was such a major part of what I wanted to do while studying abroad, film wasn't my focus, French was. So then I went to my school's website, and they have a whole study abroad section with all the different programs that are partnered with the school. So this is the first thing. When it comes to actually picking a program or going through your school or doing an outside program, there are so many options. For me, since I was concerned about cost, I wanted to do something that would not be crazy expensive. So what I discovered was ISEP, which is International something something something. And I found that ISEP Exchange programs cost the exact same as your regular semester at school. So an exchange is basically, literally, you're paying the exact same cost as you were before, because an exchange student is gonna come and basically take your place at the university. They're gonna be living on campus. They're gonna be eating the meal plan. So it doesn't cost you any differently, and also all of your financial aid still applies. So all of my school scholarships, federal grants, scholarships, everything still exactly the same, which is great for me because that was the least complicated and least expensive option for where I wanted to go. You will find that obviously Western Europe is very expensive. It's usually the most popular place that most people want to study abroad. You know, London, France, Spain, all of those kind of countries, those are usually the most expensive to go to. If you want to go to, say, an African country or South America, there are a lot of cheaper programs because the cost of living and everything are a lot lower in those countries. So it could be that studying in one of those countries could cost less than your usual semester. So you definitely want to look into it and compare prices to see, you know, what's the most cost effective for you. So because my school is partnered with ISEP and does a lot of ISEP exchanges and ISEP direct programs with other students all the time, it was very simple because I just had to work with my school and then work on the ISEP application, and it would all get sorted out. So like I said, I started thinking about this during the second semester of my freshman year, which was last spring, and it was about March when I started my program. So I decided I was going to do ISEP Exchange, and I went through the ISEP website looking through France, looking through all of their university options. A lot of them have either age requirements or language requirements. So for me, it depended on how many semesters of French I had taken in college. So based on all of those restrictions, I found all the universities that I was eligible to go to and put them as my options on my list. So for me, I did not want to go to Paris. Everybody I know who has studied abroad in France has gone to Paris, and I'm sure Paris is gonna be amazing. I'm definitely gonna go study there, but I wanted to go somewhere different. And my professor, one of my French professors, is actually from the region that I'm going to. So he recommended it to me immediately. He said, you're gonna love the south of France, you're gonna love the climate, it's very you. So I took his advice, and that ended up being my focus. My top choices were Aix-en-Provence and Montpellier. I can't remember any of the other options I chose. So it is a matter of a lot of research, researching regions, researching the schools, the programs, what kind of courses they offer, and it's a long process. So I started my application, which was a very long process, working with my school and working with ISEP, March till the end of the semester, which was like March to May. And my school wanted me to be almost done with this whole process, which includes course approval forms. I had to go all around my school and get like 12 different people to approve these courses, even though the courses aren't for sure. It was ridiculous. But it's a lot of paperwork that you just have to get done and you just have to deal with it, which is why it's so important to start working on this early. I would say start looking into programs as a freshman, because then you're not stressed out trying to figure it out for the next semester. You could figure it out early. You could decide you want to do maybe a summer program instead of a semester, or a year-long program. You could do anything. But it's always better to give yourself time, because it can end up being way more complicated than you think. So thanks to all the work that I put in at the end of my freshman year, I was ready to submit my application once it opened up to be submitted at the beginning of this year, my sophomore year. So I submitted that. There was an application fee. I think it was like $300. It was something ridiculous. I was like, oh my God. It was rough. There are a lot of fees. That's the second thing that I would say, is be ready. I mean, depending on your country, depending on what company you go through, ISEP just has a lot of fees and stuff because they're working with you, so I guess you're paying for them to help you. But different programs will definitely have different fees, so just make sure you look into it and read all the fine print so that it doesn't just sneak up on you one day and you realize you have to pay $300. So I submitted my application, and they said by about mid-November I would get notified of which school I'd been placed in. So the way that it works for ISEP Exchange is I had my options, I ranked them in the order that I was interested in them, and ISEP and all the schools go through and see who's a good pick based on a number of factors. Then ISEP emailed me and said, all right, you have been placed at Aix-Marseille University. So that was a really exciting day. Aix actually wasn't my number one choice. Originally, my number one choice was Montpellier, but I'm actually really glad that I got placed at Aix because I really, really, really love that region. I have watched videos of Marseille and Aix-en-Provence, and it's absolutely gorgeous, and I'm so, so excited. But once you've been placed in your program, there's still a lot more to do. So I had to start working on my visa. I had to start making sure my passport was ready. So that's another thing. Obviously, you're gonna need a passport. I didn't have a passport until last summer, but I did go to Canada, so I got a passport early, but that's gonna cost you a few $100s if you don't have a passport yet. You need to make sure that your passport will not expire during your year or semester abroad, so that's something to look into too. And the French visa. The visa process drove me absolutely insane. It was so difficult. France especially has one of the most complicated visa processes. Other countries, you don't need a visa. Other countries, they handle it for you. But for me, I had to pay another application fee through Campus France. If you're not going to France, this won't make sense to you. But basically, I had to apply and do one application, which had some kind of fee, let's say $100. And then I had to book my appointment months in advance to make sure that I would have a time slot. And my appointment had to be in person at the French consulate nearest to me, which was in Houston. So I had to travel from New Orleans to Houston just for a 15-minute appointment to get my visa. And the visa appointment, you need to bring a ton of paperwork, everything filled out perfectly, copies of lots of things, school records, transcripts, your school ID, your birth certificate, tons of stuff. But finally, I did get my visa. I have it, it's in my passport now, and I'm good to go. In addition to that, I had to pay a couple $100s for health insurance through ISEP, and then also there's mandatory health insurance for France, so a couple $100 more. Probably in total, in just fees, I think I've paid at least $1,000 out of pocket, which is a lot. You know, you gotta do what you gotta do. And luckily I did know in advance that there would be all of these fees. You know, you just have to like swallow it, just do it, and then you'll be good. But like I said, other countries can have completely different experiences. So basically, first thing I can recommend is doing a lot of research, giving yourself plenty of time, at least a semester in advance. So if you want to go in the fall, you need to start looking the fall before, so that you have plenty of time. You do not want to be stressing last minute about visas, flights, anything. Oh my god, I didn't even include the cost of my flight in that. Have I even talked about my program? Okay, so the program that I was placed in at Aix-Marseille is actually at an institution that specializes in teaching French as a foreign language to international students. So there will be Americans, there will be other Europeans, there will be Australians, literally people from all over the world who are just there to learn French. So my program actually focuses completely on French language and French culture. So I am going to be completely immersed in a very intensive program. But at other universities, you can take courses with all the native students, you can take them in English, you can take them in the language. It completely depends on the school that you're going to and the program that you're in. A lot of the other programs that I applied to, I would have just been taking classes in English and French with French students and other international students. But my program that I got into is just for international students. So it'll still be really interesting. I can still explore around. The town that I'm in is pretty much a college town anyway, so there'll be tons and tons of students around me regardless. But yeah, I'm very, very excited. And one of you asked if I am confident in my knowledge of the French language. I am really good at writing and reading it, and have not had very much practice speaking it. So that's definitely going to be the hardest thing for me, but that's what I'm most excited about, because you know, I took 3 years of it in high school, and then I didn't take it for 2 years, and then I came back and started to take it in college. So I've taken a lot of French, but I don't think that a lot of my high school classes really taught me much. Like by the time I came back to do French 1 again in college, I felt like I was learning everything I learned in 3 years again in 1 semester. So it's getting a lot more advanced, which is great, and I can actually form sentences now, but it is going to be a challenge to actually use the language. You guys will see me in vlogs, you'll hear about everything as it happens, and I'm sure I will be trying to speak in vlogs in French, so I'll probably just do subtitles and translate it to English. I don't know, we'll see. It's gonna be really fun. Thank you guys so much. If you have any additional questions, please comment below. If you've watched this video until here, say, wow, is that burnt orange? Comment below. And stay tuned for more study abroad videos and travel vlogs and good times. By the way, my hair is rose gold. Okay, thanks, bye.
Better run, faster than my bullet.